The story of African Americans did not begin in 1963. It began centuries earlier.
There are such incredible stories to tell about African Americans before, during, and after enslavement in America. And it's so interesting how many families, this whole idea of enduring cultural legacies, how many families like my own have endured and persisted and resisted oppression and prevailed despite these many obstacles set in our way. Enslavement being definitely the first. But many families like my own, as early as the Revolutionary War, in therefore the very late 18th century, actually fought in the Revolutionary War and luckily fought on the winning side. Two of my relatives from my mother's side both fought during the Revolutionary War, and I think that is the way that they gained their freedom, assuming that most people did come to, most of our people did come to America in enslavement. So that there was, through those relatives, it was one of the Roberts and one of the Hunleys, spelled Hunley. I won't go into all of the details, but in any case, with these relatives and with many other people in similar situations, Black communities, free communities, were established inside the prison, if you will, of enslavement. So there were, and on the other hand, in northern regions like the Boston, the Massachusetts region, the New York region, where supposedly there was freedom after a while, there was such incredible strictures on what the freedmen could do in the North that in many ways it felt to one's advantage if you actually lived in a Black town down south, as did Zora Neale Hurston in Eatonton, Florida. And there were these Black towns everywhere, even in places as far west as Tulsa, Oklahoma, where, as you probably know, there was this wonderful phenomenon called the Black Wall Street, which unfortunately was torched and burned to nothing by white supremacists in the 1920s, I believe. But I feel very consciously the legacy of slavery and the strivings of people against slavery for a very long time. My matriarchal relatives who stayed in Virginia, they established their own schools. So one is not even talking about higher education, but of course African Americans were not allowed basic education, what we would now call K-12 education, because they were supposed to be working in the fields or what have you. Let me also mention, though, again, the ways in which enslavement differed from one place to another. There's an incredible book by, it's called Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, by, I think her name is Harriet Jacobs. Well, I didn't get to read this until a year ago or so ago, and it just, it slayed me. This was an African American woman who's, and this is a case with many, of course, in slavery, whose whose mother had been raped by the enslaver. And so they were actually the enslaver's grandchildren, which of course was never admitted. But her grandmother, in the middle of, and I think they were in something like North Carolina. It wasn't like a kind of border state like Delaware, but down there. And even in the throes of the plantation life, her grandmother was allowed to have her own house, her own, I don't know, I think she did things like crocheting or making food for the community, you know, not necessarily cleaning their houses as the enslaved did. And the story of Harriet Jacobs, though, is a story, one of many stories of people running away, and how an incredible time for her. She was not able to run away from this plantation man who wanted to make her captive. She hid in the small attic of her grandma, I think it was, for over a year. When she came out, she couldn't stand up. She was bent over, etc. But she went on to finally get north. I think the story is incredible. And it's like, you know, and Frederick Douglass's story is incredible. And Harriet Tubman's story is incredible. So I mean, the kind of resilience and, again, resistance and resilience and hope of African Americans in this whole period, I think endures today. You know, people love to talk about, oh, something is in their DNA, you know, like I've said it, you know, about white supremacists, you know, racism is in their DNA. But, you know, it's not really the DNA. You know, it is really the cultural meme, as Richard Dawkins, an evolutionary biologist, would talk about memes and cultural memes that stay with people. So it's to me, it's not that it has to be permanently there, but racism for many white people, not just in America, is definitely a cultural meme that they have internalized, if you will. And I think for people of the African diaspora, people of African lineage, but also I would say even for the many peoples of Asian lineage that I see who are now across the globe, there is another kind of meme. It's not in our DNA, you know, it's not in our DNA that we have rhythm and know how to dance, you know, but there is this incredible strength, you know. How did we come through in America? It's amazing, you know.
Afro-Americanist.
In the March on Washington in 1963, the cry was jobs and justice. In the 20-year anniversary of the March on Washington, the cry was jobs and justice. We are now in 2010. And what is the cry? Jobs and justice. Well, wait a minute.
So when I think of Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, I'm reminded that there are different kinds of dreams, right? There are ordinary dreams, there are daydreams, There are prophetic dreams, and there are nightmares too. And growing up, I learned the prophetic dream of Martin Luther King, which is actually just the very end of that famous speech.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
You know, him dreaming about racial harmony, about kids of different races, you know, being able to play together, about people being judged by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin.
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
And the vast majority of that speech actually articulates what in his, you know, at his time was a nightmare for people living in this country, but we don't learn that part of it, right? We don't learn about when he says that Negroes were living on an island of poverty or languishing in the corners of American society, an alien in their own land. Where he says that we're here today, that is in Washington, D.C., to dramatize this dreadful condition, right? So growing up, having that prophetic dream disconnected from the nightmare made me feel like King, that the civil rights movement was sort of disconnected from reality, which is actually the opposite of the truth. But it's something about that optimistic soundbite circulating in American discourse without the related nightmare that went with it, that's in the same speech. It's a disservice to each subsequent generation, right? It's like we really want to hear freedom ring, but we want to tune out the sirens of oppression as well. And so growing up in Los Angeles, where in my neighborhood, helicopters rumble over, you know, the ceiling, where the lights from the police helicopters come in while you're sleeping and you feel like you and your loved ones are being surveilled, walking to school where kids are being lined up against the fence and being searched. That nightmare that people still live with, that King talked about multiple times referring to police brutality in the I Have a Dream speech, makes me feel like, now when I read the whole thing and I see he and his peers were fully aware of the nightmare that people still live in, it makes the prophetic part of his dream even more powerful, right? And so I think, you know, when I walk by that statue of the birds flying heavenwards on BU's campus, I always take a second look because I also see them being pulled downwards, right? The same statue shows both directions. And so I'm reminded that we have a choice, right? Which direction we're going. Upwards, you know, the prophetic dream, downwards, the nightmare. And it's really up to us about which reality we want to make come into existence.
Let's look at the statistics. The United States is home to 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's prisoners. Think about that.
The heroin infusion in Harlem, so many people then, and even then with the rules that came out decades later, 3 strikes, you're out. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it was like if you got picked up on the corner for smoking a joint, and if you were picked up 3 times, then you could get something like life in jail. In a sense, one almost feels that the prison complex, as you say, is, or Anna DeVere Smith was talking about the school to prison pipeline. You know, you almost feel like this was a way in which the white supremacist superstructure figured out a way to control blackness, particularly black males, because they always feel like they can manipulate black females, you know. Not that we weren't lynched as well as black males.
All the races will be destroyed in such a movement. Today I want to tell the city of Selma. Tell them, Doctor. Today I want to say to the state of Alabama. Yes, sir. Today I want to say to the people of America and the nations of the world that we are not about to turn around. Yes, sir. We are on the move now. Yes, sir. Yes, we are on the move, and no wave of racism can stop us. Yes, sir. The burning of our churches will not deter us. Yes, sir. The bombing of our homes will not dissuade us. Yes, sir. The beating and killing of our clergymen and young people will not divert us. Yes, sir. Grant and release of their known murderers will not discourage us. We're on the move now. Yes, sir. Like an idea whose time has come. Yes, sir. Not even the marching of mighty armies can halt us. Yes, sir. We're moving to the land of freedom. Yes, sir. I know you're asking today, how long will it take?
In the United States, oh God, the prison system is so different than anywhere else, except, I don't know, maybe in Russia or China, but that in the United States, the prisons are largely full of people of color. Largely black, largely Latino, some Asian. And the worst part of it, and I don't think this exists in any other nation except the USA, that many of the prisons are privately owned. So they are profiting by putting black males in prison. And I'll just say black to mean actually men of the global majority, black and brown, okay? And this goes back to slavery and then the Jim Crow era, when after slavery,
that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil. That is one thing that other immigrant groups haven't had to face. The other thing is that the color became a stigma. American society made the Negro's color a stigma, and that can never be overlooked. So I think these things are absolutely necessary. The other thing is that America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality, and as a matter of fact, to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet it refused to give its black peasants from Africa, who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years, any kind of economic base. And so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. And when white Americans tell the Negro to lift himself by his own bootstraps, they don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps. But
It's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless.
And many African Americans fought on the side of the Union in the Civil War, and talk about unheralded heroes, lots, that after slavery, no one was really given 40 acres and a mule. And even to this day, those people who were plantation owners, their families still own land that once African Americans were released from slavery, they then became sharecroppers on this land. And being a sharecropper, if you've seen any of the lately movies by Ava DuVernay, for example, being a sharecropper then meant that you were basically still enslaved to the person whose land you were cultivating, that you were sharing a crop on. And part of your crop, you had to make a certain amount of that to give back to them, as you were like a tenant farmer, but actually an enslaved sharecropper. And so that went on. And then, of course, at the same time, what was going on, talking about, being enslaved, then being a prisoner, is if you didn't have a job, and this whole thing about people being afraid of seeing more than one black man on a corner. If it's three of them, there must be something illegal going on. And many black men during the post-Civil Rights era, the post-Civil War, and then the post-Reconstruction era, that beautiful Reconstruction time, which only lasted for like 12 years. So by 1877, what we start to see is all of these black men being imprisoned, and they're working on chain gangs. So all those songs are real, breaking rocks all day on the chain gang, breaking rocks and serving my time. And that reality of and I think it's also clear in that movie, the beautiful movie with Cicely Tyson and and I can't remember the name of the movie, but he's on a chain gang and then finally gets released. And many people died, of course, on those gangs. And, all the ways in America that African Americans were, particularly African American males, were in a sense not given the opportunity to support family. And so there was a deliberate white supremacist or systemic, if you like, effort to break down black family structure.
The reason that black people are in the streets has to do with the lives they're forced to lead in this country. And they're forced to lead these lives by the indifference and the apathy and a certain kind of ignorance, a very willful ignorance on the part of their co-citizens. Everybody knows, no matter what they do not know, that they wouldn't like to be a black man in this country. They know that, and they shut their minds against the rest of it, all the implications of being a black father, or a black woman, or a black son, and all of the implications involved in a human being's endeavor to take care of his wife, to take care of his children, to raise his children to be men and women in the teeth of a structure which is built to deny that I can be a human being, or that my child can be. The great question in the country has been, all the years that I've been living here, and I was born here 43 years ago, is what does the Negro want? And this question masks a terrible knowledge. I want exactly what you want.
But again, it's so interesting the way we persisted and prevailed, because again, extended families, as they existed always in the motherland. So it's the grandmothers, the uncles, the aunts who take care of you. And you have this, if one person is gone, there's somebody else in the family, or even some friend that you call auntie, you know. The ways in which we made, nobody was getting Social Security, nobody was getting paid decently or pensions, but we had these friendly societies where you would pool money to help each other, or the church always, ways in which we were constantly figuring out, you know, to make things, to make ends meet, and to take care as much as we could. But yeah, the story is not a pretty one. And what's most unpretty and unsettling is that, and the mass incarceration, as you know, it's worse here than anywhere else. And what is worse is, again, I bring in, you know, the orange monster, because he and his satraps, you know, his minions, are busily trying to reinstate all that, to even put up again the Confederate statues that were taken down when George Floyd was so brutally assassinated, you know.
I can't be a pessimist because I'm alive. To be a pessimist means that you have agreed that human life is an academic matter. So I'm forced to be an optimist. I'm forced to believe that we can survive whatever we must survive. But the Negro in this country, the future of the Negro in this country is precisely as bright or as dark as the future of the country. It is entirely up to the American people and our representatives. It is entirely up to the American people whether or not they're going to face and deal with and embrace this stranger whom they maligned so long. What white people have to do is try to find out in their own hearts why it was necessary to have a nigger in the first place. Because I'm not a nigger, I'm a man. But if you think I'm a nigger, it means you need it. The question you got to ask yourself, the white population of this country has got to ask itself, North and South, because it's one country, and for a Negro, there is no difference in the North and the South. There's just a difference in the way they castrate you. But the fact of the castration is the American fact. If I'm not the nigger here, and you invented him, you, the white people, invented him, then you got to find out why.
Invisibilized, which means these contributions have been purposefully made invisible. So that's what invisibilized is. And it is to imply the force or the power of somebody who is in a superior position, who's able to invisibilize you, the way the ICE people are now able to disappear people. How dependent the world is on the Africanist and I say Africanist, meaning African and African American, how dependent the world is not only on our natural resources, working in the fields during enslavement and bringing rice culture to America. We were the ones who also brought to America the ways in which one would deal with animals and agriculture, horticulture, etc. The fact that the first real cowboys were black, which has been totally erased in the history. And then, of course, the music, of course, the ways of life, the ways of moving that we now consider modern. So much of that has to do with Africanist aesthetics, which work in a sense of continuity and a sense, to put it simply, a sense of what goes around comes around, as opposed to a linear order of things with a superior, middling, inferior in a linear sense. I mean, the difference between, and if I may, I say the difference between our religions, which are about a sense of always the deity within us, but that there are deities, and that the sense of religion is practiced through the body and frequently in circles, and that birth, life, and death are continuities, which is very different, again, geocentric religions, if you will, as opposed to theocentric religions, which say, well, I'm down here, and God is up there somewhere, and I need an intermediary, a priest or a pastor, to intervene. And this is not to say that there are not mambas, priests, etc., in African traditional religions, both in Africa and in the rest of the world. There are indeed priests, shamans, leaders, etc., but the sense of who they are and how they function is very different. So I see that there's a strength, again, that comes from music that's grounded in a spiritualism, if you will, that's very different than those things that drive Calvinism or what have you, that drive Europeanist religions, Europeanist practices in life. I used to do examples, as many people have done, of the different ways of walking or talking, and how much of the ways in which people of African descent have a certain kind of rhythm to the walk. So it's not, but that's kind of, I have so many examples of these things. I don't know if you want any more, but a lot in the books that I've written.
Remember too that despite the social media slogan, trust Black women, you too have to be trustworthy. Black faces in high places are not going to save us. Just look at the Black proponents of Cop City in Atlanta's leadership class. Black places and high places are not going to save us. Just look at the black woman's hand, ambassador at the UN, voting against a ceasefire in Gaza. That is, our blackness and our womanness are not in themselves trustworthy. If we allow ourselves to be conscripted into positions of power that maintain the oppressive status quo, our blackness and womanness are not themselves trustworthy if we support the occupation of black neighborhoods with so-called better trained police, or remain silent about the genocide of oppressed peoples around the world funded by our tax dollars.
As an American, felt that, I don't even want to mention his name, but they call him things like the Orange Monster, okay, and you know who I mean. That him and his White House, that's why what they are doing is so disgusting, because it's against the tide of the whole world's sense of sharing and the whole world's sense of learning from each other's materials. You know, like Beyonce, of course, I have a real problem with the long blonde, braids, okay? And of course now it's become a thing with everybody, which, makes you understand though, as I write about in my first book, I think the last chapter I have is called It's Just Hair. It's just hair, okay? And at this point, it's really a costume, and I think you can almost chart the distance that black hair has traveled from Tina Turner to Beyonce, where Tina Turner, it was great because it might have been a wig or whatever, but they were dancing, and they were dancing the hair, This was part of it, like Proud Mary, and she's dancing the hair as well as her body. And it was still her colored hair, or hair that a black woman could have, even if it was a wig or whatever. But now it's, and I shouldn't say but now, I should say and now. And now it has transformed to Cowboy Carter wearing blonde braids, not braids, but blonde whatevers down to her bahuma. So is somebody who's wearing blonde braids, is she, if it's a black person, is she appropriating something from the white world? And then if it's a white person, and they thought Bo Derek had invented braids, if it's a white person who's having braids, are they appropriating the black way? And of course, I think that, again, that's why I think, old Trump is so dangerous, because I think that, again, is just the natural flow of things, which we call, it's the recursive nature of culture, and that people are always borrowing, and black people and white people are always going to be sleeping together, and brown people and yellow people and whatever. I mean, that's just the nature of nature, and I don't resent the fact, and I'm not ashamed of the fact that I married white people twice, because I married people who deeply loved me. I don't know that there's an answer to that question, like that we can put our finger on, is this appropriation, or is this, or the fact that, well, that what do I do? That I love ballet still, but I still love every kind of dancing. But I feel that I own that as much as I said, as much as, any white person owns and everybody white thinks that it's their music. And maybe I'm wrong. I feel that a lot of, quote unquote, our young people have so much bought into the mainstream culture that a lot of those traditions no longer exist. And the other thing that I feel has really cut into it is drug culture. And I recently read, it's a beautiful book, the biography of Sonny Rollins. And I don't know if you know his music, but he is so dope. And the book is called Black Colossus, or Saxophone Colossus, and that's what he is. And he grew up in the Harlem that I did. He just lately turned 95, so he's not that much older than I am. And he talks about what happened when heroin came into the community. And everybody got drawn down that rabbit hole. And that's why so many jazz musicians either died early or had to really fight, the monkey on their back, etc. All of them, And I feel that the power of the drug, it's horrible, the power of the drug and the need for the money to, that in many ways just cut through any of the traditional values that you were talking about, I feel that ground of culture that you are talking about no longer exists in many places on the planet. Yes, like for example, I loved Philadelphia when I moved there. There are people there, respectful as you, but in their own way. They could never consider just calling me Brenda. It's like Miss Brenda, but not in New York. And not in my I am a doctor, a PhD professor. And in our dance class and our dance department as well, and I'm teaching doctoral candidates, everybody goes by their first name.
It's not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here, it's true. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated, it's true. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate, that's true. You don't get freedom peacefully. Freedom is never safeguarded peacefully. Anyone who is depriving you of freedom isn't deserving of a peaceful approach by the ones who are being deprived of their freedom. And when black people in this country come out from under the mental straitjacket that the Negro clergymen have placed them in, and begin to see that the only way you can get freedom is to get it the same way the white man in this country got it from England, or he says he got it from England. He was willing to pay the price for freedom. When you're willing to pay the price for freedom, then you get it. But the Negro in this country has never been willing to pay the price for his freedom. All of the price that we have been paying in the past has been freedom for the white man. We fought abroad so that the white man in America could be free today to sick police dogs on us, to beat our people in the heads with police clubs, and to turn water hoses on little women and children and babies simply because they want to walk down the street like decent human beings. That's now the only way you can have peace is to eliminate those injustices, and the American white man is not going to eliminate them. He's going to talk that pretty talk, but he'll still continue to practice those inhuman deeds.
I grew up in New York City, in Harlem. I was born in 1942. I grew up in Harlem in the late 40s, early 50s, that was still a community in transition. It wasn't as African or Black, Afro-American as it is now. There were, on my block, couples who were mixed, and it might be either the woman was white or the man was white, it didn't matter. But Harlem was a haven. The And my husband and I, in our piece that we created, which you might be able to see, Tongue, Smell, Color, we talk about this. In my neighborhood, the baker was Jewish, the butcher was German, the fresh vegetable person was Italian. The guy, before we had a refrigerator, I remember the Iceman. Tony the Iceman. He was an Italian, okay? Down the street, he had a little ice thing, you know. The cleaners were this beautiful Bahamian couple. So there are a lot of Caribbean people on our block, and this was a block in which my family, who had come up from Williamsburg, Virginia, which was the matriarchal family seat, had come up from Williamsburg, Virginia when I was 8 months old. I'm the youngest of 5. So I really say I'm a New Yorker because I really didn't even know Virginia. And we lived, though, in what would be called a tenement building. It was in a very nice area of Harlem called Sugar Hill. And this was where the jazz musicians lived. They might live, though, in a brownstone. Some of the brownstones were owned by Jamaicans or Bahamians. There were a lot of Bahamas people there and Bermudans. So it seems the Caribbeans had done better than African Americans. And of course, again, if we were to go back and look at slavery, you would see that the way in which the enslaved were treated in the islands was much less stringent than the way we were treated in North America. So that may also contribute to the ways in which they were able to succeed in capitalism, if you will, when many African Americans from down south could not. So anyway, the block was very mixed, and there were people who were much better off than our family. But again, to remember that my parents had been married by the time we moved up there for 25 years, and I'm the last kid. My mother is 40 when she gives birth to me. So interestingly enough, there's not that much money around for the family when we moved to New York. So I was never able to have dance classes or anything when I was little. This was also not a time when Black kids or kids in any community in Harlem or Irish kids in Hell's Kitchen or Italian kids in southern part of New York. In those kind of high schools, there weren't big kinds of sports programs, especially not for girls. Little girls did not wear jeans to school. We all wore dresses that you tied in the back. No one would ever have thought of a little girl wearing jeans, you know. So it was a very different time. That what would have been normal for me would have been if we could have afforded for us to have piano lessons and for me to have dance lessons, but we couldn't afford that. So I didn't have any formal dance training until I was in high school, when dance was offered as an alternative to what we call gym, meaning, or PE, which is called now physical education.
Gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you at this time one of the finest dancers that you've ever seen. Now, to stand here and make a long, long speech about him would really be keeping you away from a great treat. What? With as many Broadway appearances and nightclubs and theaters throughout the country, I bet you've seen him before. If you haven't, you're in for a great treat right now. Freddie, open the curtains, and let's bring on Bill Bailey.
The Apollo Theater was in Harlem, of course, and we lived on 145th Street, up the hill on Sugar Hill, between Convent and St. Nicholas. So the rest of Harlem goes down, and they called it the Valley. And 125th Street was like kind of in the middle of the valley. But of course, that's one of the places where you went for entertainment. We didn't get a television until I was 9 years old, I'll never forget. So we got a television in 1951, you know, and most of the people that we knew didn't have a television much before that. And, but people entertained themselves or went to live entertainment. So I had been taken to the Apollo to see live shows, which were wonderful. And we had, as many people did, in our living room, or what my mother used to call the front room, a cocktail table that was encased in wood, but the top was blue glass, mirrored blue glass. And they used to laugh at me because when I would come home from having seen this incredible performer named Nellie Lutcher perform at the Apollo, I would come home, we didn't have a piano, and I would imitate her and try and sing like her. I must have been 4, 5. And my mother would say, I know when Brenda was playing like Nellie Lutcher because there's little fingerprints all over the table. But the thing I really got a boost from when we got the television was at the end of a Friday night drama program that would come on, that my brother and sister, who were closest to me, would watch together. Right before it came on, there was a ballerina who would come on and do this little dance. And I would always jump up, having never trained in anything, and try to imitate what she was doing. And it's interesting because I hear so many people now say, you know, I didn't feel good about whatever until I saw somebody on stage who looked like me. Well, I had no idea that these people did not look like me. You know, my mother did not discuss race. She did not, my family didn't discuss race, discuss slavery, discuss what they had been through and whatever it was, which I see as an advantage because I think you could really stifle a child's inspiration if you lay too much heavy stuff on them. So I would look at this little girl dancing, it was a woman, and it was like, I just projected. It wasn't even as though I was consciously thinking, oh, that could be me up there. But it was just, it brought out something in me, you know. And then when we would watch later on, maybe when I was 8 and 9 and 10, there were these Friday night and Saturday night variety shows that used to come on television. The Jackie Gleason's show, and he would have the June Taylor dancers on, or the Sid Caesar and Imogene Coca show. And he would have on a beautiful team that I wrote about called Bambi Lynn and Rod Alexander. And they were a kind of ballet team, but they were doing romantic dancing. It never occurred to me that I couldn't do that. And